Alright, this is a movie database website created with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. You can say this as a clone of IMDB website. So you have to search for the movie. So in this case, I'm searching for Animal and click on search, and you get the information. You see the poster, and you see the title and the year of release, the director, the release date, the genre, the runtime, the the language, and the writer, and we have box office and the IMDb rating. The same way, if I search for triple R, you see the poster, uh, the same details which we have seen for the animal has been shown up. And if you search one more movie, let's say cool, if you type something which is not in the database, you'll see the error message saying that no movie found. So here we have used the fetch API from omdbapi.com. So we have to hit the URL, and this URL will give you the request, and that request we have embedded it into the HTML. I think the spelling is wrong. Cool. Tutorial and source code available on my YouTube Likewise channel. If you're interested in learning JavaScript, I would recommend you to follow my YouTube channel, a playlist like Vanilla JavaScript Project. I have like 95 episodes. So starting from the very basic, and once you reach the 95th video, you can see yourself as a pro. I'll leave the link of this playlist in the description, and the source code for the project which we are about to create in the description, so that you can start along with me. Alright, now let us start creating the UI. The very first thing that we need to do is make sure your XAMPP is running, because we'll be using API to receive data, so it would be convenient for us to work with. Now in the XAMPP, I have created my folder. So if you see, let us get into the C drive, and inside C drive we need to get into XAMPP, then htdocs. Then over here we can create a new folder called API, and inside the API we are going to deal with now movie. So let's create movie. Now with the Visual Studio Code, let us open that folder. So if you click on file, it will show an option for open folder. We have to navigate. Let me remove this quick access. So what you have to do is just drag this over here, and now just select this folder, and it will open in your Visual Studio Code. And now press Ctrl N, Ctrl S, and three files we need: index.html, script.js, the extension is important, style.css. The extension is important. You can name anything, like instead of index it can be home, instead of script it can be JS, javascript.js, instead of style it can be stylesheet.css. Now in the HTML exclamatory tab, it will open a boilerplate code. Now we are going to use Bootstrap 4 for quick UI making, so we don't have to create anything from scratch, because Bootstrap would have everything created by default. So we have to use the CDN first, so that we can get the CSS and JavaScript. Just click on any link, you'll get the CSS and the script tag in the head section. Now it's ready. Now for the navbar, they have a component. Just search for nav, and you can see we have a navbar. We can get into the end of the page, from where there would be an advanced navbar. Just click on try by yourself, and we need it with search. I think we have to combine these two codes. We don't have to worry about these and these two. And from the navbar you can pick the form, and just after your UL, and we have our navbar. We don't need these links. Let just be UI monk movie TV, and just copy the navbar and paste it, and let's just open this. Let's just open our project, which is API/movie. You don't have to type index.html, it automatically load for you. And now we can place this form at the end. We can remove this UL because we don't have any links here, and I have used display flex justify content space between, so we get some space between, or you can have justify content space around. We'll get space around. Cool. Now this seems to be ready, and here let's just pick the IMDb color, and now we have to link our style sheet. It's better to link our style sheet at the end so that it overrides all the bootstrap style. Now btn dot btn success, we can give background color to yellow, and make sure to add important so that it helps you to override our CSS. And you got it. And let the color be black, and we can have our border color too. Let me just zoom in. Cool. If you want to make the navbar black, just look for the class which is navbar, and we can have background color black. And if you want to make a custom footer, and in the style, I think it's a class or an HTML. We have made it as an HTML. So footer background black, position fixed, bottom 0, and width of 100%. Let's just see. And the color inside it, let this be black, white, and text align center. Cool. Our header and footer is ready. Now it's time to make this search bar work. And now what you have to do is you have to get an API from the omdbapi.com. So it's very simple. What you have to do is click on the API key, and once you click on the API key, choose the and enter your details. Once you enter the details, an API key will be shared to your email address. So you can use that API key which you received from the API address, and you have to paste in this URL. So you can see we can receive the data from the API key using this key. You have to replace your received API key with this value, and you can use it. Fine. I'm going to do I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to name it as myapi.js, and in myapi.js I'll be using your API key variable. Let's just make this const, and I'll be pasting my API key here. I'm not going to share it with anyone. That's the reason I'm creating a separate file, and I'll be using this variable over here. So what you have to do is just before your script tag, let's just use our script tag. It's better to have this at the footer. Script tag, and here you can call your script.js and your API key, my API key. So you should follow this flow. You'll be receiving the API key from here, and you can use the API key in this file. That's the reason. Cool, that's enough. Now let me use my API here. Cool, I have used it. Now we don't need this file. Now what we need to do is we need to call our input field over here. So document dot query selector. Since we have only one input, we can directly access it, and you can name it as my input. And we have a button with submit. Since we have only one button, again we can directly access it by button. I would recommend you to use ID to it and call it by ID. So in that case, it will avoid duplication. In this case, like I have only one button, so I can directly access it. What if you have multiple buttons, and by accessing it with this way, you'll be just receive the first button. So as I said, this is for practice purpose, and I have only one button. I'm using and directly calling it. Cool. Now when we submit, when you click on this search, let me just open a console and show you. If I search for any movie name, so just click on search the action.php. We have action.php somewhere here. This data is getting sent to this URL. So how do we stop that? When I click on search, you'll see AVATAR. Just search, the data will go away. Again, the data will go away. What is happening is when I click on search, the form is getting submitted to the action URL. We don't want that. We have to stop that process. To stop that process, there is a function. We can call a form here. Form. So my form again. It's better to follow camel case. And we need to attach an event listener to the form. Call form. Add an event listener. When it is submitted, what should happen? Pass the variable e. Now e dot prevent default. What happens is it will stop the default behavior of form, and we can get the input field value and display it on the console. Console.log. Now if we click on refresh and search for AVATAR, now what is going to happen is this value will stay here, and you will see the value in the input field. So we have stopped the default behavior. Now what we need to do is we need to make sure, if I have a space here and I have a space here and click on search, you'll see we are getting the space. To avoid that, we can use trim function. Refresh it, add a space, and movie name, add a space, and you can see the space won't be available. It's because it has trimmed these spaces. Now make sure the value is not empty. Movie request. So the user is requesting movie. That's the reason why I have given this name. If this is not empty, make sure this is not empty. Else console.log, enter movie and search. If I click on search, now you should see this error, enter movie and search. And let me just remove this, and if I type AVATAR, you will not get the, let me just show the movie name also here. If I click on search, enter movie name, and now if I type AVATAR and click on search, you'll see the error is not showing up, but the requested movie shows up. Now we need to pass this requested movie to a function called getMovieInfo. And over here, just pass the function. Now we need to create a function. We'll be receiving the movie, so we can just type MOV. We can give any name, and we can access this movie over here. So console.log. Now if I search again, AV AVATAR, don't worry about the spelling, search, and it is coming from this line number 7. You can see line number 7. Cool. Now what we need to do is we need to use the fetch API. So for the fetch API to work, here it says that you have to use this we have poster request as well as the movie request. Don't worry, we'll use movie as of now. Now let us call our API name over here, and you can store it as my API key, and you need to pass this into a URL. So let's just create a URL, and I'm using the backtick, not the single quotes. Make sure to use backtick, which will be above your tab. And here you have to use dollar, and to get the email, so you get the movie, what you can do is you need to click on %t equal to, then you can pass your movie here, dollar MOV. And now what we'll do is we'll use a fetch method, and I'm storing into a variable called data. We are passing this URL into the fetch function, and this function will return a response, so we can use it by then over here. It's better to write in this way. So this is called the chaining of function. So better understanding, so this fetch URL will send the response, and we are converting the response into JSON. And let me just show you that JSON. Let's just console and log the data that we received using the fetch URL, console.log. Cool. Now over to our page, and in the console, if I search for AVATAR and click on search, it is taking some time, and just this is not enough. Then we'll be receiving the data, and we can access this data over here. Cool. And now you got the result, and instead of console here you can directly use return data, and we can use the console over here, console.log. So if you did not understand about so you can get it from the Web Dev Simplified YouTube channel. There he has a video called API in 7 minutes. So he clearly explains about the fetch and then function. So I would recommend you to listen to that video or watch that video and get more detail. Now let's just create a variable, and this variable will hold the data received, and then we can display that data over here. Cool. What I have done is I have received the data and sent the data to the another function, and this function is showing the data that we received from the API. Now search again. So you got this from this function. Now let's just design the HTML to show these value. So for now, what are the things that we required? Let's just capture that. So we need title. Let's look for title. Because we need to use the exact word, so or else we won't receive it. And we need IMDb rating. So if you want awards, you can show the awards, box office, country, DVD, director, genre, language, poster. So if you search the URL, access to the image. Cool. And then production not available, rated, PG rated, a release date, a runtime, type, it's a movie, website, writer, and year, IMDb rating, and that's all. So we can have access to these variable. So how can we do that? So let me just create a variable called, we can have any variable, but in this case we'll be passing this value inside an object. Call these and pass it inside object. Since objects are comma separated values, let me remove these spaces, and we can store these value into this variable data, or we can give any meaningful name, movies info, and let this be constant. Now if you want to access just the title, what you can do is we can simply access console.log just the title or the box office. Let's just get the box office collection, and if you make a refresh and search for Avatar, you should get the box office. Movie info is not defined. Actually, I'm sorry for that. We should have used this variable. And this is the box office. Cool. Now let's just design the HTML, and we'll use these value in the HTML. So here, just after the nav bar, let's just create a container. Inside the container, let this be row, and we have two columns. The first column will simply have image, and just for the reference we'll use the same image that we have received from this URL, and control V to hide the sidebar. And over here, so this is how it looks, and if you want you can shorten it. So now what are the things that we receive? We can create a card header, card body, card footer, and now we can have title. So let's just get the info and save it somewhere so that we can use the actual data, and let's just console the movie data here. So we need to get these. I'll just copy the title is of Avatar, the box office AV, and director. I'll copy all this, and cool, I have copied all. Now let's just display this one by one in the HTML. We have title, and we can show these in the footer, and some of them over here. make a refresh, and height 200 or 500, too much. Let's just make this call 4, and let this be call 4 and let this be 8. The total should be cool. We have title h3, so we can find the relevant font or some icons. One just idea: font awesome 4.7, and in the W3 school you can get the CDN. Use the CDN. Now we can search for the font awesome icon, movie, use the movie icon in the title. Now if you see, it's over here. Actually it should be 4, it should be 8, and this should be 4. We have and then we have box office, and if you want you can make a inner row here as well. So for that we need to, so I have separated, I categorized this way. Though we have row, then we have column into 2. So the first one will hold director, the second one will hold genre. The same way, row, column into 2. Then we have release date. Then we will have our box office, column into 2. We have runtime, and then we have language, and finally we have row and just single column, which will have writer, and in the footer we will have again a row, column into 2. The first one which is of a year released, and the second one is of IMDb rating. I'm sure the release date, if we add here, it would make more sense. So row, column into 2, first one, and the released year over here. So if you make a refresh, and here what we can do is, let's just add some padding to the container. Padding top and bottom of 5. This is the maximum value. If 5 is too much, 4, yeah, that's good. Now here we can, instead of year, we can, what we can do is we can have the calendar. Likewise, let me search for all the title and come back over here. Instead, replace this with here, and now you'll see. And for all element, let the font be Roboto. Cool. And let the body be black. Make this important. And let the card also be of black. Card header, card body, card footer, and whatever is there inside, let the color be white. and background color be black. Let us paste this for all the elements of cart. Cool. Now this is coming very good. Now let me just change the title and so on. So I have added all the fonts, and now I feel all the rows should have a padding top of 3, padding top of 3, padding top of 3, and we can have our IMDb rating in H3 format. H3, Indian movie database rating 7.9, and I feel this list can come in place of genre, and this box office can come close to writer.